In this video, we will be talking about the equation of a straight line, which is simply a mathematical formula that describes the relationship between the x and y coordinates of all points on a particular line. What do I mean? If you have your x-axis, you also have the y-axis, and this point is known as the origin. You draw a line connecting the y to the x-axis. If you notice, the line does not pass through the origin, but it cuts the y-axis at C. Now, from the previous video, which I advise for you to simply spend 10 to 15 minutes to understand the concept of coordinate geometry, you would notice that I can simply produce a slope from this line. What you would see here is this axis here is also the x-axis, and this is also the y-axis. So the first point of the y-axis, which is what you can see here, this can be called C, and the second point here I can simply call this a y. Also for the x, the first point here is 0, and the second point here can be called as x. So I can say the change in the x-axis, which is the second value minus the first value, can be given as x minus 0. And for this also, the change in the y-axis can be given as y minus c. So we all know that slope is given as a change in y over a change in x. So I can say the change in y in this case is y negative c, and the change in x is something as x, because x negative 0 is also going to just simply going to give us x. So I can say y is equal to, pardon me, m is equal to y minus c over x. If you are to cross multiply, you have mx is equal to y minus c. Make y the subject of the formula, it becomes mx plus c is equal to y. So I can say that y is equal to mx plus c, where m is simply the slope. Now recall, I said m is equal to y minus c over x, and also this can also be written as y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 if the value of the y and the x, I'm not considering it to cut the y-axis. So if I have a point here, I'm considering a point here, and I'm also considering a point here. In this case, I'm going to have a value for the x1. I'm also going to have a value for the x2. Same thing, I'm going to have y1. I'm also going to have y2. But what I'm emphasizing on here, slope is simply a change in y over change in x. If you should rewrite this expression, it becomes y is equal to mx plus c. So please take note that this slope can also be calculated using this formula you see here. Simply impute it here and state the intercept. The intercept would always be in the form 0, comma, and a value. You're going to have a value here, meaning where 0 simply means the point at which the x-axis is 0, and the value here is the point it cuts the y-axis. So this is for the x and this is for the y. The x is always going to be 0 whenever it cuts the y-axis. To understand this better, let's look at an example. If I move to the next question, you said 2 points P and Q have their coordinates to be 2, 2 and 4,6 respectively. If the line joining P and Q cuts the y-axis is at 0,3, what is the equation of the line? So I can say that, okay, from what we've known, the equation of a line can be given as y is equal to mx plus c. I need to know the value of my m, and I need to know the value of the c. Impute it here, and you've gotten the equation of the line. From this question, you can see here, the intercept, without even solving, you can see clearly it is 3, because the y-axis, it cuts the y-axis at 0,3. So I can say this can be written as y is equal to m, which we've not solved yet, and our c here is something as 3. What is the m? Remember, m is giving us a change in y over a change in x, which is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I can say this is x1, y1, x2, y2. So substitute it here, it becomes, what is my y2? It is 6. What is my y1? It is 2. What is my x2? It is a 4. And what is my x1? What is my x1? It is a 2. This gives you 6 minus 2 gives you a 4 over 2. So I'll end up getting a 2. So therefore, the equation of this line would be y is equal to 2x plus 3. And you're done. Look at another example. Given the equation 2x plus 3y plus 1 is equal to 0, states the gradient and the y-intercept of the line. This is very easy as well. I know that y is equal to mx plus c. So I'm going to solve this equation to look like this. So if I have 2x plus 3y plus 1 is equal to 0, to make y the subject, this becomes 3y is equal to negative 2x negative 1. So divide here by 3, divide by 3. This gives you y is equal to negative 2x negative 1 over 3. Now we know we can share this 3 between the both of them mathematically. So I can say y is equal to negative 2 over 3x negative 1 over 3. So if we were to compare this with the equation of a line, which is mx plus c, you can see the value of m here is negative 2 over 3, and the value of c here is negative 1 over 3. So state the gradient here m is negative 2 over 3, and the y-intercept is simply 0, negative 1 over 3. So if we move to the next, which is called gradient and 1-point form. From the last video, which I explained what we mean by the midpoint of a line. If you have point A moving to point B, this has a coordinate which you can call x, y. This also has a coordinate x, y. Now, this can be UK as a place, this can be Germany or France, whatever. So what happens here is the midpoint between A and B is called the midpoint of the line, which is x also y, having its own coordinates. If I should represent it in a graphical form, something like this, you have one coordinate here, x, y. You have another coordinate, x, y. The midpoint between the first point, which is A and B, that midpoint is considered to be the 1-point form. You can also still use the gradient of a line, which is m is equal to change in y over change in x. But in this case, you are only considering a single point. This now becomes y minus y1 over x minus x1. What does this mean? It means you will only be given a single value, a single coordinate, a single point. This is just a single point, which is mostly in most cases, it is the midpoint. If I want to calculate the slope, I will need to know the value of A and I also need to know the value of B. Then if you want to calculate it in terms of one point form, then you simply need to know the value between the midpoints of A and B. If it's getting a bit confusing, just let's have one example to understand it. If you look at this, it says the gradient of a line which passes through a point, just a single point, is to find the equation of the line, the y-intercept of the line. Let me explain. What it simply means is you have A and you have B. Since the simplicity passes through the point, which is just a single point, this is considered to be 1 point, which is negative 1, 3. Now, the point A and B is not given, but this point has been used to calculate the slope. That is why they said it's 2. The gradient of a line is 2. The gradient of a line which passes through this point is 2. So I know from the solving that m should be y minus y1. This is x and this is x1, y1. So what is my y1 in this case? This is 3 and x minus what is my x1? That is negative 1. What is my slope? It is 2. So this can become 2 is equal to y minus 3 over x plus 1. So if you were to cross multiply to make y the subject of the formula, you're going to get 2 into bracket x plus 1 is equal to y minus 3 becomes 2x plus 2 is equal to y minus 3. So this can be written as y is equal to 2x plus 2 plus 3. So this becomes y is equal to 2x plus 5. So you can see this gives you the equation of the line. Remember, y is equal to mx plus c. So what is the slope? You see it is t2, which is shown there clearly. And what is the y-intercept? The y-intercept automatically is what? 5. So the slope is 2, which is already shown there, and the intercept is 0,5. This is considered as 1 point form. If you look at this, for the 2 point form, give you the value of A, which could be x, y. You'll also be given the value of B, x, y, and you won't be given this value. You are asked to use these both values to calculate equation of the line. In this case, this is what the mathematical formula should be. It is x, recall we said m is equal to y minus y1 over x minus x1. The formula we just used now. And we also still know that what m is equal to what? y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So in this case, what happens is I can equate this and this to give me y minus y1 over x minus x1 is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. This is considered as for the 2 point form. So if I look at an example, you have find the equation of a line which passes through the points 2, 5 and 5, 6. So you have an example in this case which says point A, let's just call this an A, 2, 5, down to point B, which is 5, comma 9. The equation, I can say y minus y1 over x minus x1 for 1 point form is the same thing as y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So if I'm to simplify this, let's call this x1 y1 x2 y2. So to substitute it, it becomes, what is my y? That would not be known. What is my y1? That is 5 over my y1 is 5 and my x1 is 2. So it becomes 2. And what is my y2? That is a 9. What is my y1? That is a 5. My x2, that is a 5. And my x1, that is a 2. So this becomes y minus 5 over x minus 2 is equal to 9 minus 5 should give us a 4 over 5 minus 2 should give us a 3. So if I'm to cross multiply, it becomes 3y negative 5, 4x negative 2. This becomes 3y negative 15 is equals to 4x negative 8. So if I'm to simplify, this becomes 3y negative 15. Let me just write it here. 4x negative 8. So that it becomes 3y is equal to 4x negative 8 plus 15. So you're left with 3y is equal to 4x negative 8, 15. This should give us a positive 7. So it becomes over 3 over 3 over 3. So you can say your y is equal to 4 over 3x plus 7 over 3. So the equation of a straight line is giving us what? Y is equal to mx plus c. What is my m in this case? 4 over 3. And what is the intercept? 7 over 3. And now we'll move to what we call the general form of the equation of a line. Just be patient. In this case, what this simply means is if you have one equation of a straight line and you have another equation of a straight line, these both lines are parallel. This can be point A, this is also point B, having their coordinates x, y, also x, y, and this can also be C, and this is also D. If the equation of this line, which is y is equals to mx plus c, is parallel to the second line, which is the second line, let's call it m1, is equals to y is equals to m2 x plus c. In this case, if the equation of the first line is parallel to the equation of the second line, then the slope, the key thing to take note here is the slope. The slope of this line would simply say m1 should be equal to m2. It's as easy as this. But if they are not parallel, or rather they are perpendicular, then m1 will be equal to the negative of m2. So what is the takeaway here? If you have the equation of a straight line where the first line is parallel to the second, then the slope of the first will be equal to the slope of the second. But if they are perpendicular, the slope of the first will be the negative inverse of the slope of the second. So if I'm to look at an example, it says find the equation of a line parallel and perpendicular to the line 2x minus 3y is equals to 1 and passes through the points. Observe this here, point. So this tells you it is a 1-point form. But if I'm to simplify this, you have 2x negative 3y is equal to 1. So this simply means if I'm to make y series of the formula, it becomes, I can say 2x negative 1 is equal to 3y. So if you divide here by 3, divide here by 3 over 3, so I can say y is the same thing as saying 2x over 3 minus 1 over 3. So we know the slope should be 2 over 3. And the intercept, which is c, is 0, comma what? Negative 1 over 3. So now the question says, find the equation of a line parallel and perpendicular. If it is parallel, in this case, m1 should be equal to what? M2. So I can say, I would not be wrong to say, for 1-point form, let's call this x1 and also what? Y1. I can simply say the slope, which is m, is equal to y minus y1 over x minus x1. So what is the slope in this case, which is 2 over 3? If it is parallel, which is for the first instance, if it is parallel, it means the slope still remains 2 over 3. So I would simply say 2 over 3 is equal to y minus, what is my y1 in this case? That is negative 3. What is my x1? That is negative 2. This becomes 2 over 3 is equal to y plus 3 over x plus 2. And this gives me 2x plus 2 over 3y plus 3 to give you a 2x for 3y 9. 2x is equal to 3y plus 9 negative 4. So I end up with what? 2x is equal to 3y positive 5. So you end up with 3y is equal to 2x negative 5 over 3 over 3 over 3. So I can say that what? If they are parallel, then the equation of the line for the parallel would be y is equal to 2x over 3 minus 5 over 3. But if they are perpendicular, it becomes m, which is 2 over 3, would now be m1 should be the negative inverse of the m2 so that it becomes 1 over 2 over 3. So you end up with what? 3 over 2. In case you don't understand how I arrive at it, it's simply 1 divided by 2 over 3, which is same thing as 1 times 3 over 2. If you multiply, you end up getting 3 over 2. So if they are perpendicular, you still use the same formula you used initially, but it now becomes, instead of saying m is equals to y minus y1 over x minus x1, this now becomes 3 over 2. Remember initially we used what 2 over 3, but it becomes 3 over 2 because it is what? Perpendicular. Before I forget, it is the negative inverse. So I need to put a negative sign here. Y minus, what is my y1 in this case? That is negative 3. X, this is negative 2. And it becomes y plus 3 over x plus 2. negative 3, 2, and you simply get a what? A negative 3 x plus 2 and 2y plus 3. This becomes negative 3x negative 6, 2y plus 3. 2y equal to negative 3x negative 6 negative 3. It becomes 2y is equal to negative 3x negative 9 over 2 over 2 over 2. So y is equal to negative 3 over 2x negative 9 over 2. So if for the second condition, if it is perpendicular, it becomes y is equal to negative 3 over 2x negative 9 over 2. If you truly want to understand this, you need to solve it again. Go back and watch the video over and over again till you understand it better. So I would want you to try this and see if you can solve it, maybe without a pen, and see if you can arrive at the answers. For the first example, which is the distance between 2 points, I've explained it in the first video, the midpoint between A and B. I've also explained how to solve the midpoint, how to solve the distance, and find the equation parallel to CD if it passes through the point. This is a 1-point form and the equation of the perpendicular bisector. So simply solve the questions and leave your answers in the comment section below. Thank you and have a lovely day.